Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips, Brandon Stone, and Shuddy Boy.
And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to another episode of Journey into Comics. I'm your host, Nate Phillips. Today I'm sitting solo. It is a Nate cast. I figured I owed everybody a conversation to start with. I've been a little MIA from the show for the past couple weeks, and I want to mention that it isn't really anything intentional. Brando did the last episode was a solo cast from Brando, which was great. The tides, they are changing. It's so awesome. He's going to Days. So now, actually, officially, as of today, he's on his second day of Days, which, congratulations, Brando. It's so fucking cool and huge for you, first of all, in your life. You can have normality again and be able to just have, something regular and not have to have weird, crazy, wonky-ass hours, and that's really nice. Hopefully the shift change doesn't, destroy your world, because I remember coming off of working a couple years straight of night shift and moving to days, and it was really tough. So, we're thinking about you on that front, my friend. But anyways, so Brando did a pod, he did a Brando cast last week, and I didn't do anything the week before. And I had actually planned on doing it, and a mixture of things has kind of happened. Life got really fucking busy all of a sudden. We were just insanely busy at work, and I was working 12-hour days straight, and so crazily busy that it was hard to want to feel the motivation to talk about things. There wasn't a lot of comic book news that we didn't get to cover. There were, I could have talked about the Doctor Who stuff and some of the other shows that we watch and whatnot. This week, today, we're going to get into some trailer business and some other things, and then we have another whole special thing that's going to happen at the end of the episode. So stick around for that. But right now, I want to just mention that I want to not really I don't owe anybody an apology. This is still my my podcast, my creation, my baby. But ultimately, I do feel bad that I haven't been on and done a show in a couple weeks. I don't really feel rusty or anything. I feel very confident in my skills and how this episode's going to hopefully turn out for you guys listening. But, I haven't really felt inspired to speak. And that's weird, because usually I speak a lot, but usually I speak a lot when, there's a lot on my shoulders. Not to jinx myself and knock on a little bit of wood here, but things are kind of going really nicely in my life right now. There's a lot of really big, great things happening in my world, and I didn't feel like, I wanted to come and fake an episode. And it's not put 100% into it because, my body was exhausted, and then try to, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, where'd I go? I've been gone. I've just been working like a dog, doing a bunch of other cool stuff. Still collecting pop vinyls, obviously. But today, let's just get right into the thick of this here. I want to talk about, to start the episode off, I would say this is a pretty heavy hitter. This has just come down from the sky in the past couple days, so timing is everything, because I'm really excited to be able to talk about this. But we got a Dawn of Justice. That's Batman vs. Superman, for those of you who aren't keeping track. We got a Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice teaser trailer. And the beautiful thing about this teaser trailer is they literally gave you just enough to make you say, oh shit, and then they stopped. And that's all a teaser ever needs to do. Give you just enough, and then don't go any further. Just right there on the and then just stop, okay, right? So what was this 49-second teaser? So we intro to the teaser on Batman being hung by his wrists in a very, very, very deserty type location. There's a lot of sand. And there's a hallway. And then, boom, Superman has come down from the sky and landed. And it's, the montage of in 2016, Zack Snyder presents, blah, blah, whatever. And then Superman finally gets up to Batman. He walks down the hallway. And he unmasks him. And he's just holding Batman's cowl out. And then it's boom. That's it. That's the teaser. That's all they gave you. Just enough. It's crazy because it was just a teaser. And I was thinking about this, and maybe I'll catch some flack for this, but this little teaser in this one instance was instantly memorable. As to where when I watched the Captain America first trailer, and I know that was the first full trailer, very memorable. Lots of cool stuff. But I struggle to remember all the cool stuff. This teaser gave me just enough. You know what I'm saying? It gave me I have a short attention span. Obviously, you guys have heard me. I lose my train of thought constantly. I'll probably do it a couple times on this episode. So it just the trailer gave you enough to say here, right? You like that? You enjoy. Okay, and we're done here, and that's perfect. So later in the show, we're gonna also be talking about what I was just speaking on, Marvel Civil War. For me, let's real quick talk about Dawn of Justice. I want to kind of flesh some thoughts out. So apparently there's a rumor that some toy production has spoiled the idea that Lex will have a power suit in Batman versus Superman. So that's really cool that we're going to see Lex's purple and green power suit at some point in the Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice film. It's interesting because the movie itself, when you think about it, every time we watch one of these superhero movies, every time we see a trailer for a superhero film, at least I know this is how I am. By the way, right now we should be getting ready to actually see Dawn of Justice. It was supposed to be out this year, not on the other side of next year, which is kind of bullshit, but I digress. So every time we sit down to watch one of these superhero films, right, you're always like, oh my God, I can't wait to see the bad guy. Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice is doing a really beautiful job of making it kind of seem like there is no bad guy. Ultimately, there's going to be a bad guy, but we don't even have a concept of what the bad is, what he's going to look like. They haven't, there's a lot of rumors. There are a lot of rumors. People have said Doomsday is the main villain. Obviously, Lex Luthor has a part to play in this, but the villains are Batman and Superman. They're versing each other. They're facing each other. So what does that mean then? Are we led to believe that it's 95% of the movie is them hating each other, and then the last 5% is, oh, let's get along and beat this dude that's way more powerful than both of us? Or is it like maybe about halfway through the movie they kind of start going, oh, we should maybe try to work on the same side. This could maybe be the right thing, and maybe there's still a little bit of angst against each other and some aggression. But really what really is going to happen is you have a movie where you're going to see Batman's perspective, then you're going to see Superman's perspective, and then you're going to see them face each other, and then you're going to see them decide to not face each other, and then Wonder Woman's going to show up, and maybe she's what makes those two work together, and then the three of them are going to try to stop Big Bad number 1 and number 2, or just Big Bad number 1 that could just be Doomsday, or maybe it's just Lex, who knows. And then the movie's going to be over, and you're going to be like, oh my God, the Justice League was almost there, because maybe at some point in the movie we'll also see Aquaman, obviously. We maybe get a sneak peek of a... That's another thing I want to rant about. Fuck you, Ezra Miller. I'm sorry. You're not Grant Gustin. It's not as good. Don't call yourself Barry Allen. You know what I really hope? I know that they said, oh, it's official, we're calling him Barry. I think it would be fucking cool if they called him Bart Allen. Then, you can tie in lineage with Grant Gustin on the TV show, and it's some future scope thing where future Flash has come to the past to be in the DC cinematic universe, while other Flash is in the TV universe. Because those things need to coexist. DC, I get it. They're trying to do things differently than Marvel, but if the formula ain't broke, don't try to fucking fix it. Or don't try to change it for that matter. You know? Uh, I could rant for days about my different opinions on, DC and things of this nature. And then we're going to talk some more about DC. So, Jared Leto, he's the guy that's going to be playing our next Joker that we get to see in this world. Joker number, what is that? Let me count. So you have Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, and then Heath Ledger, obviously, and then now Jared Leto. So he's our fifth Joker. Okay, so we're gonna be seeing our fifth iteration of the Joker. So Heath Ledger posts on his Instagram. Somebody had used a meme creator to create this meme, but they found the original dude who made the picture, which actually I know where the picture came from, and that in itself is pretty cool. So the picture is Heath Ledger's Joker sitting with his hands on his knees, kind of like how he was in the scene in the prison, right? In The Dark Knight. And then over top of him is Jack Nicholson's Joker with his one hand on his shoulder, and it's really cool. But the guy made it using Hot Toys figures, the 1/6 scale Hot Toy figures from Sideshow Collectible. They're like ultra realistic. So the guy must have used those, obviously, because it's picture perfect and it's genius. Why wouldn't you put those two together? And they're obviously, they both have their own figure. So anyways, and then it said, "Don't worry, Leto will do us proud." And Jared Leto was saying how it was very sweet that someone said these things, and how that they weren't wrong. And I love that. I love that Jared Leto he's trying to be more receptive. He was in character, and that's something that I wanna also talk about. Jared Leto was in character talking about the Joker when all this stuff was breaking, okay? And he was being crazy and eclectic and weird and doing strange things during 30 Seconds to Mars shows and stuff, and premiering maybe his Joker voice or whatnot, right? So that was while he was still in the character. He's no longer in the character, and now he's just being, again, himself. He is kind of self-absorbed, and in that respect, he is kind of douchey. I don't know if you guys have ever been on his Instagram, but he does post like pictures of himself with inspirational quotes, and I'm just like, wow, this guy really loves himself. Like, he'd probably put his own dick in his mouth if he could. That's a whole nother conversation though. So Jared Leto, I hope you do us proud, man, really, as the Joker. We're gonna see you Suicide Squad. Maybe we'll get a little bit of you in Dawn of Justice as a little surprise. There's so much other shit going on, you never know. They could pack that movie tenfold. But anyways, I digress. So continuing into discussing characters that we haven't seen yet, who are coming to big or small screens, and the candy trail, and wondering what those characters are going to be like. So we know that Negan is coming to The Walking Dead. And I want to actually pull up an article that some of you actually may have heard the audio that it came from. But Scott Gimple, he's the showrunner of The Walking Dead television show. Speaking about Negan, says this: "In my opinion, the governor is more despicable and damaged. Negan is terrifying in that he isn't a psychopath. He's charismatic and funny, and even sort of friendly, but he just kills and it doesn't bother him. He's the star of his own movie and we're all red shirts. He's not nuts, but you can't reason with him because he's got it all worked out. He knows exactly the way the world works, and he is the one in control. Negan also has a bizarre sense of empathy. He actually recognizes your bad luck and you're running into him, yet doesn't change a damn thing. Kirkman has created one of the great pop culture characters of the past 20 years, and we desperately want to get him right." God damn, that's fucking great. They want to get Negan right. That means that there's no fucking around, That's huge, Negan's my favorite character from The Walking Dead. He's not been on the show yet, but his arc, I was just speaking on this the other day, his arc is so far nearly 50 issues. He's not dead. He's he's in this for the long game at this point. He's been around. I mean, he's lasted more issues than Lori did. Think about that. Lori was only 48 issues, and then she was kaput. Sorry for those of you who haven't watched or read the comics yet, and who are like, man, maybe I'll check out that Walking Dead. Lori, yep, she gone. You probably don't even remember that though. That doesn't matter. Anyways, so I'm just excited to see what's gonna come from Negan showing up on The Walking Dead. I know I haven't watched the episode that just happened, the mid-season. I haven't watched it yet, folks. You'll get a review on that soon, I promise. Next episode, we will be talking in detail about The Walking Dead and about all these things. You know, one thing I didn't even put in my notes that I want to talk about, and this is a total tangent, but it's going to totally set up the end half of this show, because we've only got a little bit for the comic covering, and then we've got a little special segment that we're going to add at the end here. But before we get into the nitty gritty, let's talk about Jessica Jones for a second. Jessica fucking Jones. So far, I'm only on episode 3, but they've got me. They've got me hooked. I love the show. I really, really enjoy watching the show. It is very dark writing. They had me hooked on the first episode. Kilgrave is an amazing character they're taking from the Purple Man as Kilgrave. Just the ideology behind him. You will do whatever he tells you. That's fucking terrifying. And so far we've seen that. I mean, if you haven't watched the Netflix series Jessica Jones, I would say check back in like 4 minutes, because I'm not going to go on for a super long amount of time. I've only got 2 episodes to talk about. I mean, I could really dive in and discuss those. And then I also want to mention another little TV thing. I have to remember that somehow. I will remember it that way. Okay. I love having pop vinyls of things I want to talk about, because I can just look, oh, hey, I remember I want to discuss The Flash here in a minute. Jessica Jones is so well written. It's a dark, gritty side of Marvel. The story that they're telling is just brilliant. The character, I want to say her name was Ruth. That could be wrong. I'm still, like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, so the names don't always stick with me. There's only a couple names I've like 100% remembered. The girl that gets kidnapped in the first episode by Kilgrave and ends up killing her parents. That is so fucked up and tragic. We were just sitting there watching it just like, oh my God. Like, that is the darkest fucking thing we've ever seen. This girl's reunited with her family after being controlled by this maniac. Jessica Jones is like, hey, you'll be fine. Just get on a plane and get away. And then all of a sudden this girl has a gun, and then all of a sudden she's pointing it at her parents, and all of a sudden she's shooting them both in the chest. And then she's released from Kilgrave's, trance, and she realizes what she's done. So the whole show is predicated on that one big event, because now there's a case. There's a case to find the missing friend of mine. That's not true. But there's a case to figure out if this girl intentionally killed her parents, or if she was under control by some greater entity, as Jessica Jones has suggested to the authorities. Then you've got the second, the second episode's kind of building on the Luke Cage character. Love how he's just right away, boom, in there and a part of the show. Really, really enjoy his presence. Really bad with names of the actors, by the way. At some point, I'll get you guys all your names and know who plays what. I know Kristen Ritter is Jessica Jones. She does a great job. I said this when we were talking about the trailer. She does a fantastic job playing a tormented person. Someone who's just been through literally the motherfucking ringer, and it's motherfucking painful. And she's all of a sudden going, I can be in control. That's huge in acting, and I love it. I love watching her act. It's great. Anyways, so talking about Jessica Jones made me think about talking about The Flash. The Flash, tonight, we get the first part of the 2-parter in the crossover event between The Flash and Arrow. I am super, super excited about that. So, yeah. Tonight we get to finally see the first part of the 2-part crossover between The Flash and Arrow. This season is not like last season where each show had their own independent stories going on. These 2 episodes are one giant story. at some point tomorrow, maybe that's what I'll do. Oh, that would be really cool, actually. We'll see how it plays out, but soon I would like to watch them back to back without stopping, like marathon them as a 2-hour story that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? I think that would be really fun to do. So, anyways, let's talk and actually, you know, let's discuss this. But I'm going to tell Other Me to come in and discuss it. Other Me has a lot to say. Plus, I need to take a refresher and make sure all my notes are lined up. So what's going to seem like no seconds to you is really probably about 5 minutes for me. But I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to gather myself, and then we're really going to dive into the discussion that is Marvel's Civil War, the first trailer. And what seems like 0 seconds has passed really was quite a few minutes for me, folks. Welcome back. It's still Nate. I'm still here. That was confusing editing, but that, whatever, it doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and discuss the Civil War trailer. I've watched it a couple times and really let it sink in and taken some really good notes. So obviously it opens with Captain America, Steve Rogers, with Bucky and Falcon, Sam Wilson. And they're trying to, they're discussing, if Bucky remembers Steve. And he says, your mom's name was Sarah and you used to stuff papers in your shoes. And that's huge. Now, in the midst of this montage of them talking, there's a scene where a building is exploding. Some people have been like, is that them teasing the Stanford incident? No. From what I understand, the Russo brothers have decided as an executive decision, and that's fine because, again, sometimes with the way the comics translate onto the big screen, you have to tweak some things in the universe that already exist. So there's a thing called the Sokovia Accords when we see Thunderbolt Ross show up and he's talking about, a great many see you as a hero, but there are some that still see you as a vigilante, and that, Steve has essentially worked outside of any jurisdiction and not had to answer to anybody. There's a thing slipped across the table called the Sokovia Accords. Sokovia was the place in Age of Ultron that, fell from the sky. That Ultron dropped from the sky, rather, that, the Avengers saved. So they're taking, and that's the incident that essentially sets up what happens in Civil War. And one thing I want to say is they are really doing a great job with Captain America, particularly selling his character being just a guy who has no other choice. Cut and dry. The end. He has no other choice. He has no other option than to do what he feels is right. And that's, you know what I'm saying. It's great. How they're, I don't know. I just kind of lost my train of thought. So there are some lines that really stuck out for me for in this, and I'm going to get on this one right now. Is talking again about Cap. He says, "Are you saying you'll arrest me?" And he's talking to, I mean, the way the clip is put together, it looks like he's talking to Scarlet Witch. He most likely is talking to somebody else. That's the power of editing a trailer together. But this whole process, are you saying you'll arrest me? He's saying, I have to do what's right, even if that means you arrest me. That's huge, So there's another big line in this, and I love it. Tony then starts talking about how, if we can't work inside these guidelines, then how are we any better than the bad guys we're defending the world against? And Tony says to Captain again, he says, sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth. What a great line for this, trailer to have. Is just this, just this very honest, like, hey, there have been moments in us knowing each other, and, we didn't get into this thing as friends necessarily. I mean, they weren't friends, obviously, when this all started. But, saying essentially, we weren't friends when we got in this, and there have been many a time where I could have just decked you. Now, granted, I don't know if Tony would have hurt Steve, but, I guess we'd have to see. But it's making it to where it's very obvious these two have graded on each other, and they're angry with each other now. Let's talk about some of the people we get to see for the first time in this trailer, because there's a couple names that I want to discuss. Obviously, we get a bunch of beautiful imagery of Black Panther fighting alongside of and against different various Avengers. A cool car chase is shown where Black Panther's running. It's really neat. The suit that Black Panther's going to be wearing looks phenomenal. I mean, just totally. I remember when they announced that it was going to be Civil War, and Chadwick Boseman came out. It was like, oh my God, he's going to be Black Panther. This is huge, and that was before Marvel had secured the rights for Spidey, so they were kind of using Black Panther as the Spider-Man character, and obviously things played out differently. Sony gave the rights back under limited control to Marvel. Well, mostly the control is Marvel's, but still distributed by Sony, so Sony can get some of that money at the end. But there was another a cameo of a character who we've not fully seen in his costume that blink and you'll miss it. Honestly, it's I think it's like 1 or 2 frames I had to pause it at, where you can see Crossbones in his gear walking with some soldiers, and it's really, like I said, it's a blink and you'll miss it. If you like looking for that kind of stuff, go search, man. The music, by the way, was very epic for this. It was very like uplifting and like building higher and higher. So I want to mention that I did like the music that they're using. This movie is it's going to be everything like I've ever wanted Civil War to be. We'll talk about that here in a second. There was one final line in this trailer that I loved. He's my, Steve is saying, if I had any other choice, I would do something different, but he's my friend. And then Tony goes, so was I. And then there's this epic little teaser fight where 2 dudes in 1 suit of armor, because Bucky and Steve are just beating the shit out of Iron Man and just hitting him. And then is the damage landing, or are they hurting him? Probably not. But they're still rattling Tony's cage. So we'll see how this goes. But let's go ahead and we know, May is only like 6 months away, really. Right at. So what does this trailer kind of mean? Well, it means that Marvel is essentially, next year might as well be called Marvel versus DC, the dawn of the Civil War. Because that's what it is. Marvel's got Captain America and Iron Man. The long game, okay? They've played the long game and set up these characters over time. I remember when the first Iron Man movie came out, 2008, I was sitting and I went, oh my God, they have an Iron Man movie where they introduced Nick Fury. And then, then later we got the Incredible Hulk movie, and then they brought Tony into the fold, and I went, oh my gosh, they're going to be doing a Captain America film. Does that mean someday, ultimately, somehow, we'll end up seeing Civil War? I never thought the day would actually come, and here we are. Marvel Civil War is 6 months away. Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice is 4 months away. The difference? Marvel played the long game. They've taken their time. They've set up piece by piece by piece by piece, playing an intricate game of chess. A very intricate game of chess, and making sure every move they make has purpose. Every move they decided to do comes maybe at a cost. Maybe it comes with a price. Maybe you don't have certain characters you would like to have and be able to tell stories. Looking at you, Fox, you stupid fucks. Give back Fantastic Four to Marvel. That's all I'm saying. So here we are, and Civil War is almost upon us. In this first trailer, I remember I watched it the night they debuted it on Jimmy Kimmel, and it raised the hair on my arms, and I was just overwhelmed. The series, the comic series Civil War, meant so much to me. It was one of the comics that I really sunk my teeth into as a younger reader. Younger for me, I wasn't big into reading, but that's beside the point. But I loved it. Okay, cut and dry. I loved the Civil War storyline. Here we are. We're going to see it on the big screen, and I'm elated. I cannot wait. one thing I need to mention, kind of backtracking to the first part of the show, we were talking about Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. I brought that up specifically because I need to mention these things. Tomorrow, which is today or whenever this comes up, Wednesday, December 2nd, Jimmy Kimmel Live will premiere another full trailer for Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. I think this would be trailer 2? Yeah, trailer 2. So that's really cool and it's super huge. Hopefully we'll get a ton of new footage from that. Looking forward to seeing that. We'll obviously be covering that next week on the show. Next week, I don't know what we're doing for a show. We're still figuring things out, but that's aside the point. So I want to mention one final thing, and it's Star Wars. I need to tell a little story, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of I have a thing to say. So first of all, my story is this. For Christmas, one of the things Sarah did for me was she subscribed me up to Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty, okay? Smuggler's Bounty is bi-monthly. They ship you an exclusive Funko Pop for Star Wars and a bunch of Star Wars swag that's exclusive you can only get in the Smuggler's Bounty. You can't get it anywhere else. It's exactly Collector's Core, but it's with Star Wars. So Star Wars, okay, Smuggler's Bounty comes in, and I'm so stoked. I'm so excited. I'm so ready to open my Smuggler's Bounty. You get 2 pops, a chrome-plated Captain Phasma, which is great, and then mystery pop. Who knows? Spoiler alert. So you get a patch and a pen. The patch and the pen are cool. I got a lanyard, a Star Wars lanyard that I really dig. I already have my keys on it. I got a cool First Order Stormtrooper pop vinyl shirt that's really neat. And then I got 2 Captain Phasma pops, and I didn't get one of the other pops I was supposed to get. That's the story. That's fucked up. I have 2 Captain Phasma pops. One we might give away on the show. If somebody gives me a reason to give something away, who knows? You may get an exclusive Smuggler's Bounty pop vinyl from Star Wars and Funko. So I've emailed them, and hopefully soon they'll be responding to me and saying, hey, this is what happened. And this is how we're going to rectify it. Now, the thing is, there are 2 different pops. You could get number 89, which is a TIE Fighter pilot, or you could get number 90, which is the TIE Fighter pilot Special Forces. The TIE Fighter pilot Special Forces is so freaking cool looking. It's so neat. And I know I just censored myself. That's weird. I usually don't say it. Usually I'm just like, it's so fucking cool looking. But for some reason, I got a little nerdy and said freaking cool looking. I don't know why I explained that to you right now. Let's move on. Hopefully they will fix this situation. Smuggler's Bounty people, I'm looking to you. Hopefully, you will find it in your heart to send me. That would be cool if they were like, hey, we made a mistake. We totally screwed up. Here's what we're going to do. Because we made such a big mistake, because you feel left out of the game, we'll send you number 89 and 90 both. And then I could have all 3. That would be gnarly. My hope is they will just send me number 90. The reality is they'll probably send me 89, and then I'll be really bummed out. But I digress. So, anyways, that's all I have to say about the Star Wars rant there. Now, I want to jump that over to, and I got more rants coming, but you'll get there when we get there. So I want to jump back over to my favorite part. I'm not watching any more of I'm not watching any TV spots for Star Wars. I want you guys to know that. I've seen the trailer. The final trailer is the last piece I will watch. I don't want any more clues into what this is. There's a rumor that Kylo Ren and Rey are related, or maybe twins. They might be brother and sister twins like Luke and Leia, which would then mean that Luke is the one that tells Rey, you have that power too. She's actually the Jedi. Finn is not necessarily the Jedi. Who knows? We'll see how this all plays out. But it means that Luke could still be the evil one, and he's given his son the choice to take the evil path and his daughter the choice to take the good path. It's fucked up. So many crazy things they could do. I'm so pumped. Why isn't it? It's December. Oh my gosh, let's talk about it. What? There are 17 days till Star Wars. 17 as of this recording, which was Tuesday, December the 1st. 17 days as of right now. There's only going to be 2 more podcasts before the movie comes out. And then we're going to do a big old special where we talk all about it. Speaking of the podcast, at some point, we're talking about changing the release day of the show. It's been kind of sporadic. Usually we stick to Sunday, Monday. This one's a Tuesday, Wednesday type deal. But it wasn't intentional. It really wasn't. Things have just been a mess, and this is the first chance I've had to sit down and just talk with you folks. So with that being said, this is the end of my part of the show, kinda. So here's what's going to happen. In a second, I'm going to introduce past Nate. Past Nate's going to talk to future Nate. That's me. I'm future Nate because this is in the present. Then I'm going to talk. Well, I'm not really going to talk to past Nate. I'm just going to let him do his thing. He's got a guest. I brought on my friend Young Neil. We call him Young Neil. Him and I just did a little because he wasn't really sure if he could get through a whole podcast and not really, it's hard to sit and talk about stuff you may or may not directly know about. So we just said, you know what, let's just do a segment. So this may be something that we keep if you guys like it. Please give us feedback. There, obviously here in a bit you'll hear where you can find us in all of our different social media outlets and what have you. We need to get fucking Shuddy back on the show, and him and I need to dish. There's so much talking that needs to be done. We've talked about doing some kind of Legends of Tomorrow, talking about the Flash and Arrow this week. So we may have a second episode that comes out this week. We actually may get 3 this week because you would have this one that comes out, another one that would most likely be recorded on Thursday, and then we would have another one which would be like our standard episode that we normally do on Sunday, all within a week. So it's going to get a little busy here, folks. But anyways, I'm tangenting right now. Let's go ahead and do it. Here's the deal. Past Nate's ready to come in. So without further ado, let me go ahead and do my very best in introducing me. Past Nate, go ahead and take over and tell everybody what's going on. Thank you for that kind introduction, future Nate, right now, because this Nate that you're hearing right now is really from the past, but future Nate just introduced me, but I haven't recorded that yet. See how that works? That's weird time travel.
Yeah.
Today on this part of the show, I've brought a special guest on. My good friend Neil is here. Hi, Neil.
Hi.
Today, Neil's going to rant, and we're going to talk about some stuff. I met Neil through Sarah. He used to take piano lessons from her, and we kind of took him under our wing, and we have kind of given him some cool, what I think is some cool life experience.
Definitely.
But from Sarah and Neil striking up a friendship and student-teacher friendship, you kind of got to experience something really crazy with us when Sarah and I went backstage and met Machine Head in 2012. You were 13 at the time.
I was.
What was that experience like? Looking back on it now.
Very surreal. It definitely was the highlight of that entire summer. It was just it sparked an interest in wanting to meet more famous people in the same area.
And actually from that, now you are kind of, I'd almost say like an aficionado or a guru of getting backstage and like meeting bands or like seeing and meeting these famous people and rubbing shoulders. It's kind of crazy because I feel like we created a monster in like a really good way.
Yeah, ever since that one day, I've been going to as many concerts as I possibly can, and when I do that, I just find new and different ways to get backstage and meet the band.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done to meet a band?
I've probably I've hopped fences. I've waited before the show started to wait for them to get to the venue and stuff to like, hey, can I just go in with you guys? And sometimes they're like, yeah, sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
You don't even have to pay for it.
Just wait till they get to the venue and just be like, hey,
yeah.
like I'm your biggest fan. I'm here waiting for you.
Yeah.
Let me in.
And not to seem fake or anything, but you really have to kind of schmooze them, like say, hey, like I really love your stuff.
Like yes, like well, and that's that world. The music industry is like that. But so what do you kind of do in your world now? Just as a quick summary to the people who are checking out this podcast.
I play music. I help other musicians get to where they want to be and stuff, and I support other people in their treks to where they want to be in life.
That's awesome, man. I know you've kind of been a huge supporter and backer of Sarah, so obviously I appreciate that. And now you're kind of supporting and backing us, which is super cool. We had you at our practice today. That was fun.
Yep, that was really great. You sounded great.
But really, let's get down to the bread and butter of today. I brought you on because you're a very outspoken individual. You speak your mind, you speak it freely, and fuck the people that don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what I want to do now is I actually want to throw a topic or two your way and kind of have an open discussion and kind of just go back and forth about what we think about these topics. So I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to ask you this. Is downloadable content ruining the gaming industry? Is the fact that I have to go and I buy the Batman Arkham Knight game for $100 because I bought the collector's edition, but $60 if you're paying just for the basic copy, and then I have to spend another $40 for stuff you haven't even told me I'm getting. I'm just supposed to, on good faith, trust that I'm going to get $40 value.
Well, I've played certain games, and I've seen other people play games on the Xbox and stuff, Xbox One, and a lot of the times I see people who they play the game and then they buy an expansion pack or something, and it's really like based on like whoever has the most money to spend on games becomes the best player at it. And I don't feel like that's right. Everybody should have the same opportunities to play the game, and everybody should have the same opportunities to succeed at the game.
And when when you say it like that, that's kind of weird because I didn't really think about it like that. You're right. Whoever has the most money does in fact hold the key, and I'll bring that into the kind of the next part of this conversation. Is the microtransaction also affecting how we perceive gaming? And I say that because now if you're playing a game on your phone and you're playing a game on your phone and it's like, hey, for $1.99 you can get unlimited coins, and unlimited coins could buy you everything in this game. So now you're like, well, I got to spend a couple dollars. But then there's another little like, oh, well, if you spend $4.99, we'll double your coin value. Is that making us so numb to the fact that we're constantly being asked to do these microtransactions and this downloadable content that we're so numb to it that we just blindly go, yes, here's our money. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I think it really started with the those little figurines for the, like, I think it was Xbox. What were those? Those
Skylanders.
Skylanders. I think it's really started with that, and then it started to boom with like, I'm a big player of Clash of Clans, and I play it every day religiously. I think one of the things that people get most hung up about is the gems. You have to pay for the gems if you want extra gems, and you definitely do get better at the game if you have more gems. But you can also get gems by mining trees and boulders and stuff. But that takes I have over 1,000 gems stored, which is worth, like, I think it's $20. I've only paid $5 on the game, and I've already spent all those. So it took me about a year to get all those gems, and I think it's unfair to the player that has the least money, because I think you should be able to play the game without having to spend the money.
Yeah, it's not a hierarchy like we're in actual society when we're doing these games.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter if you have $1 million and I have $0.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I should be able to advance just like you and be given the same chances to earn the same things as you. There was a game I used to play. It was a Marvel card game, War of Heroes or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And they would have these specialty packs. And dude, you would pour 20, 30, 40, 50. I didn't personally, but people that were on my team would spend crazy amounts of money to get these cards that you could get two of to make some super card or what have you. And then you're just like, oh, you just spent real world money on a stupid game that doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely. It's bad that this is the way that the gaming industry has gone, because it's making kids think that, oh, the more microtransactions that I do, the better I'll be at the game. But in reality, the whole sole purpose of the game is to get through it and take the hardships that come with that.
Exactly.
And you should be willing to take the effort and time to actually play the game the way it was meant to be played, instead of be like, oh, I have money, so I'm gonna have my money play the game for me.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, no one went back in time to little Nate and was like, hey, dude, if you pay $3.99 right now, I will help you beat Super Mario World. Like, no problem. Like, that didn't happen.
Even if it did happen, I still wouldn't want to do it, because
Exactly.
I like the challenge of Mario, and I like the challenge of Clash of Clans
Like,
by itself.
progressing through the game.
Yes.
Making it to where, like, there's no better rush. Like, honestly, in gaming, there's no better rush than you're playing a boss. It keeps beating your ass. You're getting so frustrated. You've been there.
Yeah.
And then you beat it.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, I feel accomplished. Now take the same exact concept. You're having a hard time with this boss, and a little thing pops up. Hey, for $2.99, we can help you beat this boss.
I sure would have loved that in Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, because when I played that game when I was about 5 years old, and I had to get my friend's older brother to come beat it for me.
What system?
I think it was PS1
PS2.
or PS2. PS2.
Because I have Budokai 3 currently on the Wii.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
it is a great game.
Yeah, man, I just think that microtransactions, all these things, were being kind of led to the slaughter. Hey, you can suck at games, but if you have money, we'll let you pass.
Definitely.
I don't want that to be the case.
No, definitely not.
Man, okay, I'm trying to think of like a great example. Actually, I have a great example. Ares in the first God of War. At the end of the game, you have to fight Ares. You're giant Kratos, he's giant Ares, and there's 2 stages. The first stage is just like kind of a straight up battle, and then he sends you to this like dream realm, and then you have to fight all the different style of enemies on this like platform that's breaking away randomly and shit, and then it throws you back to the second half of the thing. And I must have tried 250 times, I would say, in that number to beat him on the hardest difficulty, and I couldn't. And I screwed up and used one of the powers that are a part of the game. It's a natural like leveling up item that like shoots like these souls, right?
Mm-hmm.
That attack the bad guy. So right as the dream sequence ends, in some sort of shock that I actually had gotten that far, I tapped my power up and shot souls, but the cutscene had happened. So I trigger, the cutscene happens. Like, it was like boom, boom. Okay. I come back on the other side of the cutscene, and the souls are just now leaving my sword. You're not supposed to have power ups when you're big. Is the other part of this, and it beats Ares on its own, and I do nothing else. And I was so overwhelmed. Like, a glitch helped me win.
Yeah.
But it was like the coolest feeling, because it was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I think, man, what if they would have just said, hey, for $1.99, we'll give you one power up that can destroy him, and no problem.
And it's kind of the same in, like, I think certain platforms for the gaming consoles are the sole purpose of this and stuff, because like I'm sure Steam doesn't really care about you as a player. They just want to, let's make an expansion pack, or I don't know if they do expansion packs.
Dude, you know what's weird? You say that about Steam real quick, not to cut you off, but like I know so many people that have Steam accounts, and they're like, "Oh, I've got like 7 1,000 games in my library, and I'm like, oh, cool. How many of those have you actually played? How many of those are you even going to remember to play? Or are you buying it on sale because you see the word sale, you have minimal interest in the game, and they've goaded you into purchasing this product? You're never going to play.
Yeah. I know for a fact that I have 2 games on Steam. Maybe 3. I have one of the Portals. I have
Classic.
I have one of the Portals, Gary's Mod, and I have Dota 2.
Okay. Those are like good games to have on Steam.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem. But like, I don't know, man. Like, could you imagine? Okay, and then my brain goes like this. So you mean to tell me that these people have 6, 7, 8,000 games or whatever, and my Xbox 360 is 170, I think, right now. Like, I have 170 or so Xbox 360 games, and I've played almost all of them, and I know why I do or don't continue to play those games. How can the people with all those games even know what they like? They only are playing the same 4 games.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like more of a status thing, like, oh, I have more games than you, but even though none of them are played, or it's
You said that you have more games than me as you looked at the massive pop vinyl wall, like,
yeah.
oh shit. I don't collect these to have more than anybody.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
I just looked at them reflexively.
Yeah.
Not.
It's just they display nice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
nicely.
saying? They're like all around you.
Yeah, all around.
So now another thing with media and gaming and whatnot. Do you think that we've gotten to a point where there is no competition in the market of gaming? Like yeah, Xbox 360 and PS4 compete against each other for who's going to sell more consoles, but they're all pretty much getting the same kind of games. The exclusives aren't so jaw-dropping. Like I remember it being a status whether you had a Sega Genesis or a Super Nintendo. You don't. I'm sorry. It was before your time, but
well, I talk to people and I tell them that I'm a retro gamer, I guess you could say, and they seem so interested that, like, wow, there's more than just the Xbox and the PlayStation, and I think they're genuinely surprised that people actually still play games that are made before 2003.
yeah, I mean, and Brando, our co-host Brandon, he's a huge retro gaming collector. I mean, he's got just an insane collection. With retro games, that brings me to just a sidebar question. Do you ever watch those React videos on YouTube, like Teens React? Like, it's like teens reacting to Duck Hunt or teens reacting to Street Fighter, and they have like people around your age playing Street Fighter and stuff.
Yeah.
You should find a way to be on those shows. You would kick everyone's ass and represent us well.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, oh, actually, yes, I play this game currently. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really good. You know.
I actually I've listened to many of the podcasts and I've heard Brando talk before, and I followed him on Instagram and stuff, and he's very knowledgeable in what he does with the retro games and stuff, and I kind of envy him a lot.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's his passion. I have comics and pop vinyls. He has a humongous, ridiculously scary sized game collection that I've contributed to, and I feel good about that.
nice.
So
I just remember the day that one day I was talking to my neighbor, who actually has a very, 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 very large comic collection. I think it's in the thousands. I don't know, tens of thousands, maybe. I don't know. He had his brother who was also a comic collector, but more into the retro gaming section of. We were just talking one day, and he was like, "Hey, I have a bunch of old Nintendo Powers that I'll give you. I know since the first one's really rare, and I want to sell that one, but I'll give you 2 through 100 for $20."
sold.
and it was sold. It came with all the posters and everything, and I just remember the day he brought that huge box of Nintendo Power over. I was just so excited. Like, I opened the box, and I threw them all on the ground, and I sorted them, and I put all the posters together by which thing they came in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
you relived history, man.
yeah, it was a very cool rush of awesomeness. And I don't think the people that play video games nowadays, such as the Xbox and PlayStation 4 and stuff, I don't think they really get that rush, because like everything's available to you. You can go to GameStop and just get whatever game you feel like, because it's always on hand, and nothing is as like special as that anymore. And that's one of the big things that I don't like about today's gaming industry, because it's just everything's so accessible, and like there's no hunt for the game, and that's half the fun. Like, don't you remember as a kid, like, okay, my couple of my friends have this game, I really want to play it, I really want to get it, so you go search for it, you hunt for it.
Yeah.
And I've been collecting. I started collecting Super Nintendo games when I was probably in elementary school. I recently, not very recently, but in the past like couple years, have really gotten into expanding my collection of Super Nintendo, NES, and all that other good stuff. But the best part about it to me is hunting for it. And the best part is going to like disc replays and going to Swaparama and stuff, and going to different like places and just searching for it, because it's just such a rush. And I don't think that these people understand that.
No, I mean, it's weird because I think about it, and you'll maybe be able to fill me in better on this. But do kids nowadays even collect anything? Like, I know you are a very specific breed of person. Like, you have great taste and you collect,
Swords, guitars, tarot cards.
But I mean, like SNES games and Nintendo games and whatnot. Like, you have great taste. Like, do kids nowadays get into collecting anything for the sake of like cherishing something that you had to put time and effort to find?
Absolutely not.
That terrifies me.
I know it terrifies me too, because I go over to these kids' houses and stuff, and they'll have an Xbox, and they won't have any games. They'll just have them all like downloaded or whatever. I don't know how it works, but it's just like stuff will be laid out everywhere, and it'll be just like, it's not the way that it should be. And kids come over to my house and stuff, and people come over to my house, and they're like dumbfounded by like how much things and like collections that I have. Like, they're like, you actually have this stuff? Like, I didn't know this stuff existed. Like, I have like probably like 20 something video game systems that I do use. Like, none of them are not used. And it's just like most kids these days, they sell their, when they were kids, they got a PS2. They sold their PS2 and added a little bit of money to get their PS3. They sold their PS3 and added a little bit of money to get their PS4. The same thing went for Xbox and stuff. And people don't realize that, like, maybe someday those things will be worth something. Maybe someday that those things will mean something to you. Maybe you'll like grow up and be like in your 20s, and you'll be like, man, I remember when I was a kid, I played that one PS2 game, Tony Hawk's Underground, for example. I wonder if I can go and play that. And you go and play it, and it's the best feeling ever.
Unless you don't have the stuff because you sold it.
Exactly.
And you might have a PS6 at that point.
Yeah.
But you're not going to appreciate that or be able to fully appreciate Tony Hawk's Underground. I mean, that's a great reference.
Yeah. I have every single one of them.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a new one out. Tony
Really?
Hawk Pro Skater 5. Yeah, it just came
I
out.
stopped when they required the skateboard thing.
They got rid of that ride during
Okay.
Tony Hawk Ride, yeah.
To add to the rant.
Sure.
At the physical like objects that you would need for certain games and stuff, Rock Band, Guitar Hero,
Okay. Yeah, accessories for playing the game.
Accessories, DDR,
Yeah.
back when that was really big. Stuff like that. That's like just the fact that you could be able to go into the store. You can buy these games and have to go out and buy the extra stuff. I mean, I know Guitar Hero was awesome. Don't get me wrong, and so is Rock Band, and I think I played DDR once or twice, but it so like the Tony Hawk skateboard thing. I bought the game and I went home put it in my PS3 and I was like, this game's gonna be awesome, just like the old ones. And then there's like, attach the skateboard, and I was like, come on, the thing's like $40. I'm not gonna go out and buy that after I just spent $40
On the game itself.
on the game itself. How do you feel about that?
Well, see, that's one of those things where I guess I feel spoiled because, like, with Guitar Hero, the first Guitar Hero, you had to purchase it with the guitar, and it was $70. And then now I'm pretty sure Rock Band 4 just came out at, I want to say the total was $250 for the complete band. That's asinine.
Yeah,
$250 to enjoy a video game.
exactly.
Okay, and I know inflation and the cost of living and stuff raises, and games back in the day cost about the same price, technically speaking, as they do now. You know, like I said, through inflation and stuff, even though they might have been cheaper back then. But, dude, I mean, yeah, Nintendo had Power Glove. Nintendo had Rob. But those were things where you knew if you got a Rob, there were certain games you needed to purchase, and that was an investment. It wasn't just well, I'll be able to play Rock Band on it.
Yeah.
You could play Gyromites or whatever the different games for Rob were, and have a good time, or use the Power Glove on anything, you know.
Yeah.
And then now it's just like, I don't know, all the accessories. Does it enhance the game? Not really. I mean, is it cool to kind of have I don't know what a good word is here. Is it cool to have an additional experience that makes you feel more connected to the game? Yes. Does it necessarily have to come from me strumming something that's supposed to simulate a guitar when I'm a real guitar player? I don't think so. I don't know if in some aspects though, accessories are really cool.
Definitely.
And the reason I'm gonna kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth here, as I do from time to time. A friend of ours had purchased the Ion drum set. The Ion drum set was the first ever electronic drum set that was a USB based drum set that you could plug into your Xbox and play Rock Band on. Apparently someone's lighting fireworks in the middle of November.
I thought that was a gunshot. That scared me.
No. But you know, see, this happens to me from time to time, Neil, but I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
But I've got it back now. So our friend bought this Ion drum set. It's a real electronic drum set. You can put headphones on, you can hear different cool drum tones and play drums.
Yeah.
Or you can take the USB, plug it into your Xbox, and play Rock Band with it. Yeah. So this mutual friend played Rock Band until he could play all the songs on drums on Expert without even trying.
Mm-hmm.
And now he can actually play drums. That's a cool use.
Yeah.
That's where an accessory has done something that has furthered a person's being.
Definitely.
However, there are other aspects of the accessory game, going back to Guitar Hero, where, okay, so I have this guitar, and I'm doing this fake strumming shit, and my fingers are on different colors. That's not how you play fucking guitar.
It doesn't translate
at all.
I remember when Guitar Hero first came out, my uncle, who played guitar very, very well, he went with his son, who was probably around my age at the time. He went with his son to Target or whatever, and he tried playing Guitar Hero because, they have those, like, sample whatevers. And he couldn't do it because, like, it does not translate over either way. It's just
not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. It's really bad. But is there... Okay, so we've talked a little bit about accessories, a little bit about microtransactions, a little bit about how retro gaming and kind of your generation is going.
I hate my generation.
Will you would you suspect at some point kids around your generation, maybe a little bit younger, are going to start to realize that retro games aren't just cool because they're retro, but there's some really fun, really unique games on those old systems that you could never replicate in a remake?
Well, I think if you I don't think they're aware that these things exist. Like, I don't think they are aware that games like Final Fantasy 3 or Earthbound or any of those good games that came out before their time, I don't think they'll understand what it is until they actually get around to playing them. And sadly, I don't think they will unless they are into it.
So then that leads me to, I guess, what would be kind of the final question is, does that mean that retro gaming and going back and collecting from years past in your childhood or even before your time, is that something that we're going to see kind of die off with kind of the people in me and Brando's generation? Or is it something that you can hope to inspire others to feel the same and say, hey, these are things that we can carry on through the world and show people, you know, how fucking cool would it be if in 2085, which I will most likely be way long gone for, but who knows, you could very well be around, people can be like, oh my god, this is the 100th anniversary of the Nintendo, and I have games from the Nintendo. Think about 100 years ago. Think about if you owned something from exactly 100 years ago, 1915. That's a crazy I would be so excited to have something from 1915.
I have an analytical grammar book from 1857.
See what I'm saying? How cool is that?
I brought it to school, and my teachers were just like, where'd we get this fucking kid? Like, where'd we get him?
Like, how does he come up with this stuff?
Yeah. Well, anyways, to answer your question, I think that retro games are going to die off.
Man.
That's a bad thing, but I always think there will be people like us that there will be the odd ones out that that are interested in this and love this, unless there's one of these big companies that have monopolies on the gaming industry, such as Sony and Microsoft. If they understand that old is good, then maybe someday they'll make retro games popular again. Because kids, they just go with what's popular, and that's bad.
Yeah, and I mean it's just it's kind of just been an arms race of graphics, who can make it look the best. And then I go back and I play some of these classic games, your Earthbounds, your Final Fantasy 3s, your Super Mario RPG and the 7 Stars. Like, these old retro games are so special, and they have a very special place for me. I mean, I was a kid growing up when a lot of those came out, you know. So I really hope that retro doesn't die. It would bum me out. But I think that's all we've got for this part of the show, man. This is the end of Journey into Comics. So, as always, you guys can check us out on all our different social medias, on Instagram at Journey into Comics, on Facebook, Journey into Comics Podcast. Email us at journeyintocomicspodcast@gmail.com. Twitter and Periscope is JIC Podcast. Make sure to check out Shuddy's online comic book store, Red K Comics. I would like to once again thank you, Neil. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, I have.
And we're going to start at some point moving forward as we inch closer and closer to episode 100. We're going to start bringing Neil in more to do some rants, just from a different perspective. You're a fresh mind, my friend.
Thank you.
You have a very fresh perspective on things. So again, I thank you for coming on the show. I'm Nate, and this was a Journey into Comics, and we'll see you guys next time. Later.